Well, last week, Herman Mashaba warned that should the DA be taken over by what he called the right wing, it would lead to his resignation. Well, that indeed happened today. Let's get the reaction of his colleagues now in the opposition party. And my two guests tonight are KwaZulu-Natal DA leader Zwakele Mngwango, who's joining us from our Durban studios. And we also have the Eastern Cape leader, Ngaba Banga, who joins us via Skype. Good evening to both of you, gentlemen, and thank you very much for coming through. I'm going to start with you, Mr. Banga, if you don't mind. I'm keen to know what was going on, and I'm sure our viewers are too, in your mind today when you posted these words on Facebook following the resignation of Herman Mashaba. And I quote, "Sad day to lose this great South African Herman Mashaba, and I thank you for the principal leadership you've shown, and God be with you, my brother."
It's a sad day for us as a DA, and I think for all of us as South Africans, because of losing this great South African who have worked so hard to make sure that at the end of the day we have a greater city of Johannesburg, which is a hub and a center of the economy of South Africa, who have done everything to turn around the city in the manner in which you have done. And unfortunately, he had to say, look, I had enough, and I can't stand for some of the difficulties that the party is facing with, and I think I must resign. Mashaba, he was an inspiration to us, including me when I was an MMC for Johannesburg, for Nelson Mandela. He guided me on how to deal with problem buildings in the city. Out of 139 buildings, just in 3 months after I received counseling and guidance from him, I was able to deal with very problematic buildings in the city, like the Sunnyside, which is now a psychiatric hospital. He told me how to do it in a quick way when the officials were telling me that it will take me 15 years. And I did it in 3 years. More than 5 buildings I demolished. We wanted to demolish 139. And he was a leader, he was a statesman, he was a governor, he was a mayor, he was everything. And he understood the plight of all South Africans, black and white. He worked so hard to make sure that we succeed in building one South Africa for all. And his speech today had me to the bottom when he raised some of the difficult questions as a DA you have to deal with. And I think I called him after the interview and I said, thank you very much for what you have done for us. Thank you for the inspiration you have given to me. And also being a straight man who stand up and say, look, we have challenges. You are unable to deal with them. You're not unable to confront them. And I think if you're not changing how you deal with issues, and I'm prepared to quit. To me, this was not about money. It was about service. Therefore, I respect him for that. I respect a man who keeps his word. And not because what he said was all right, but, he have always raised these things. And he have said, please, I need support from you. And I don't see all of you supporting me. And it's true. And we supported him as FedEx, even in difficult times. The Federal Executive Committee supported him, and we believe he was doing something right. He ran the coalition. He consulted people, engaged with people. And then I believe that we might have failed this great man, but I think the DA can go forward because we believe that we are the only party in South Africa that represent all South Africans. And I come from the ANC, and for the first time I see an institution where there are difficult conversations about issues that are confronting South Africa. And we deal with them, we discuss them, we don't hide about those issues. We might have differences, but many people in the DA believe that South Africa can work if black and white work together.
Okay, let's bring in your colleague and comrade Zwakele Mngwango, who is the chairperson of the DA in KwaZulu-Natal. Mr. Mngwango, your reaction to Mr. Herman Mashaba's resignation?
Good evening, Vuyo, and your viewers. Vuyo, I agree with Ngaba. It is a sad day for South Africa. It's a sad day for the DA, and more it's a sad day for people of Johannesburg. You know, for me who live in Durban, over the past 3 years, where we've been fighting to get the mayor, where our mayor was busy in and out of court because of corruption, where in Johannesburg they saw the mayor on the ground who was busy servicing people of Johannesburg. It is a sad day for people of Johannesburg and for the DA. But I must say, because Ngaba have covered most of the points, what is important here is, I still say this was a selfless leader, someone who took time to say, I want to leave business, to come and contribute to a non-racial society and build one South Africa for all. Vuyo, I must say, yes, while I'm saying it's a sad day that we lost Mashaba, but I can't say I agree with everything and how this thing has turned out. I must say, when you elect leaders, I'm one of those, I was open in supporting Arthur Trollip. I was never hiding that, never been a secret. But whenever someone is elected, it's a democratic process. We have to accept the results and move on. I'm in a position where I'm saying we have to support Helen Zille and move on. She is now the chairperson of the organization, and we need to make sure that she succeeds. But I must say, Vuyo, the election of one leader doesn't change the principles and values of the organization. You will remember that 2018, the DA went to a policy conference and the Congress where we adopted our principles and values. And the election of Helen Zille doesn't change those values. I don't believe that just because one person has been elected, just because we have ideas, the contestation of ideas, doesn't mean it's a race issue. That is why I find it very strange sometimes that even the media and the public, they made this election about a race. It was never about race. It was an election of ideas. The candidates who were contesting, they were all of the same race, but you still find people saying there was a black bloc, white bloc, which is not true. There was a contestation of ideas, and one leader emerged because the majority of delegates felt this leader can take the DA forward. And I think we need to unite our organization and move forward. This notion of fighting amongst ourselves and also creating the perception that this election was about race, this was not about race. This was about a leader with different attributes, and the majority of delegates felt Helen Zille can take the party forward. And we must respect the outcome of this election and move on. I don't believe Helen Zille will come and change the values of the organization. She still serves on FedEx. She's not going to make decisions by herself. Yes, we have different views with her. I shared my views during her campaign. She knows exactly where I stand about those ideas. But my views with her was never about race. I don't see Zille as a racist. We might differ about her view and a tweet which was controversial. And I said that to her during the contestation. But that doesn't mean I see Zille as a racist. And I still believe that she can take the party forward. We just need to support her, even at FedEx. We're going to have FedEx coming soon, and we must pave a way forward. We must discuss what we do about Johannesburg, what we do about other cities where we co-govern with the EFF. That decision won't be taken by Helen Zille alone. It will be taken by the executive of the DA, which I'm part of.
Mr. Mngwango, I'm going to bring up, as I'm talking to you, I'm staying with you, I'm going to bring up another Facebook post that you put out ahead of that meeting where Helen Zille was, of course, elected the chairperson of the Federal Council. So you were clear, as you have just said, about where you stand. You were standing with Arthur Trollip. What for you did Helen Zille represent, that which presumably Arthur Trollip didn't represent?
Look, as I said, I've been saying this openly. I felt Arthur, where we are as a party, where there is some kind of confusion in terms of where we're going as a party, and there's sort of contradictions in terms of the statements made by different leaders. I felt Arthur is the right person who's decisive, who can really bring everyone back on track. And I had different views about Helen, and I did say I have a view in terms of her coming back, especially with the link of IRR. But end of the day, I think Helen have explained in many cases some of those statements and distance herself from such statements. And I think now it's up to her to prove to us as executive that, look, I still stand by my words to say whatever was said by IRR, I'm not part of. For example, part of my argument with the issue of IRR was that they can't come and tell us that we must elect a white leader. We are a party that believe in a non-racialism, so we can't then be detected by the institution to say you must elect a white leader. So those were views that we had. And remember also, Helen has been a leader. Even when I joined the DA, Tony was a leader and Helen was there. And I served even under Helen Mashaba as a professional leader. So end of the day, I had a good relationship I had with Helen, but over the past 2 years, we had different views, obviously, about certain issues, as I mentioned, the issue of a tweet and some other issues. But it doesn't mean I now see Helen as someone who will change all the values and principles of the organization. Even in her arguments during contestations, she never said the DA must change its values. She never says the DA must change its principles. We had different ideas on how we can move forward, but no one can come and change the principles of the organization. We will call, obviously, we've discussed, we will have a policy conference before the Congress, and at that stage, we will argue, because the fact of the matter is, in South Africa, we have to talk about redress, and when we disagree on those things, it doesn't mean it should remain about the race issue. It means we have a different views as to how we move forward. The fact of the matter is, the majority of South Africans are still left behind. There's still poverty in our country. We need to talk about how we create jobs, how we ensure that the majority who is outside the mainstream economy are actually included to the economy. Because at the moment, we don't see those opportunities open to everyone. But okay, you can also agree that it's not always about race. You can talk about people with disability. You can talk about women. So sometimes South Africa, we want to focus on race as an only issue which have made people to find themselves outside the mainstream economy. There are many factors we must discuss about those things. How do we bring everyone in this economy? Because it's a threat to our peace and stability, having majority of South Africans who are living in poverty. Okay.
Ngabapanga, Zwakele Mwango says it's not about race. And earlier, you said that there were lots of issues that Herman Mashaba raised, and you think that you might have failed him. Now, is race, or was race not part of the issues or among the issues that Herman Mashaba raised?
Yes, of course. I think in his statement he did raise the issue of race and the disadvantage in South Africa. And I always say that the problem of racial consciousness in South Africa is a major problem. Most of the time we always say it's racism, and it's not. It's because many South Africans do not understand each other because they come from different backgrounds. The tone in which we speak to each other as South Africans is a concern. In a country where people were divided on the basis of race, it's always still a problem in America as we speak right now.
But do you believe that your party is handling it well, or as best as it can?
I believe we're doing work, we're doing something about it. And I believe that it is the only party that discusses racism in South Africa. It is the only country that discusses non-racialism in South Africa. It is for this reason that in this election, we said what we want to do and want to offer to South Africans is one South Africa for all. And many South Africans did not understand that we can build one society and one South Africa for all. That's what they did not understand. That's why you see a group of white South Africans who went to vote for the Freedom Front, and a group of black South Africans who went to the extreme, to the EFF. Because these politics and these elections were about the emotive issues that divide South Africans. And as a DA, we're saying, look, let's deal with this and confront them and deal with them and discuss them. And what South Africans are not used to is that kind of a robust engagement on saying, can we define each other on the basis of race, or not define ourselves on the basis of building a human society where we look at each other as human beings. And I think that in South Africa in which my children, I want to live, when they live in a South Africa I'm fighting for right now, that they will never be looked at on the basis of their color of skin when they look into opportunities. That Ethel Trollip's children will never be looked on the basis of their color of skin, but they will be looked at on the basis that they are South Africans. But we have agreed as the DA that more than 10 million South Africans are unemployed. The apartheid special framework continue to divide us. And we think that our party should be able to confront that reality and lay out a foundation in which it balances that. That's why Herman Mashaba, in his work, he dealt with the issue of the inner city regeneration. Here at Trollip, we dealt with the issue of problem buildings to make sure that we bring black people, those who are disadvantaged, to areas of work, and we started to building things like social housing. Therefore, that's the kind of South Africa we have to build. We can't always hold on the issue of race and black and white. Black and white should understand that they live together in one space and they should work together in building one South Africa. And that's what we stand for. That's why I'm saying, whilst Herman Mashaba raises his issues that are critical, that we cannot avoid, that one of us is raising an issue that we have not dealt with this issue sufficiently. Yes, there are black people even within the DA and white people within the DA who still believe that we can work in different sides. And it's not only a problem of the DA, but it's a South African problem. Therefore, as the DA, we're the only party in South Africa that we have blacks, colors, Indians, and white working together and saying, let's build a brighter future.
Well, you're not the only one. With due respect, you're not the only one, but I'm going to bring in Zwakele Mngwango here. Mr. Mngwango, whatever you may say, I mean, when people look back at, Joe Seremane, when people look back at Lindiwe Mazibuko, when people look at Patricia de Lille, all of you in the DA have been saying the things you continue to say. Yet, these particular situations present you with a dilemma. You have to concede on that one. Now, at what point or what needs to happen for you to actually ask for or try and actually get a meaningful change within that political party where the contradictions that continue to swell do in fact hopefully come to an end and you can build the party that you hope will go to the union buildings at some point? What do you think needs to happen now? Because you are going to pick up the pieces. As a provincial leader, you are going to be judged by how you organize the people of KwaZulu-Natal to gravitate towards the DA, and you will be held responsible if you don't do that in the same way that Musi Maimane is being held responsible for the below par performance in during the May 8 election.
Yeah, Vuyo, look, interesting question. Vuyo, the project that the DA have started is not a easy project, but it's possible to achieve. You know, building South Africa for all, where you're going to bring all races together, also understanding where you come from as a country. There's been a lot of tensions between different races, and the project we are on is to say we can make this happen. It is possible to build one South Africa for all.
But what do you need to do differently this time around? What I'm saying is, what do you think you need to do differently going forward?
Vuyo is to continue having robust debate, and we must have a debate about justice in South Africa. There's a reality that there has been injustice in South Africa for years, and now we are in democracy. We don't eat democracy. People are hungry outside there. There's poverty. There's no jobs. There are no jobs. So all we are saying is we need to talk about these issues and have a robust discussion. But Vuyo, we mustn't allow a situation where everything, all disagreements are about race. Let me make a typical example, Vuyo. Today, I receive calls from people who are unhappy. They are senior members of the DA who are unhappy with the election of Helen Zille. But people are saying all black people are unhappy. Let me tell you, I haven't received a call from a black person. These are white South Africans who have different views on Helen Zille. So it's not about a race issue. It's about South Africans having different views. So it can't be that just because now other parties like ANC want South Africans to believe that DA is clouded on a race fight. This is not about race, Vuyo. we went to this council to elect a leader. It wasn't about the race, it was about electing a leader that can take us forward. And I think Mashaba raised some issues of which, as leadership of the DA, we must have a robust discussion about these issues. There is no time to stand on a fence and not debate about these issues. We need to talk about how do we redress what happened in the past. How do we ensure that South Africans enjoy this freedom? Because currently, it is true that the majority of South Africans are still not enjoying this economic freedom. There's no economic freedom. They don't see freedom in their life. So we need to make sure that, as a DA also, we talk about social cohesion. We talk about reconciliation, because we can't build this South Africa outside if in the DA we are failing to achieve to have this cohesion internally. So we must do that, Vuyo. We must achieve a point where internally we have a robust discussion on these topics, which actually sometimes are uncomfortable to have. And I think we can achieve our vision as long as we are open about it and discuss it.
That's where we're going to leave it for this evening. Zwagele Mwango and Nqaba Banga, who are both leaders of the Democratic Alliance in KwaZulu-Natal and the Eastern Cape, respectively. We did also invite Bonginkosi Matikizela, who is the DA's Western Cape leader. He agreed initially only to make an about 10.